Hi there, I'm Sam, and this adorable little guy is Ben, or Benjamin, or Benny. We call him Benny. He is our first child, our first little boy, and he is pretty adorable. Sorry you can't see his face right now. You have to trust me on that one. He's pretty adorable. He's about 2 months old right now, um, and it's been an exciting 2 months, obviously. In addition to many things that I've learned about parenting or have started to learn, I'm also learning the art of the bedtime story, trying to master or perfect the art of the bedtime story. And it's actually not bedtime right now. It's about noonish, but he's down for a nap or going down for a nap. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know. We'll see. Um, and so I figured it's the perfect time to tell a story. And as much as I like the many books and stories he has over here, you can't see his bookshelf too well. It's okay. Um, as much as we have some great options there, I've also started to get creative with storytelling, with the art of the bedtime story. But yeah, the guy. Um, by telling him stories of like the Marvel universe and stuff like that. In case you couldn't tell, my wife and I are big superhero fans. I've loved superheroes and movies and stuff like that for a long, long time. I'm actually writing a superhero story of my own. That's another topic. Um, but I've been telling him bedtime stories like from the Marvel universe and things like that. Things that I hope to pass on to him one day and hope he'll be interested in when he's older. Because if he is, I'll be a proud and happy dad. I mean, obviously he can't understand them yet. This is mostly for my own entertainment and stuff like that. But one day we'll get there. So it's time for a bedtime story, or a nap time story, or whatever you want to call it. And in the ongoing saga of the Marvel Universe, today we're going to tell the story of Iron Man. You ready, little guy? Yeah. Are you awake and cognizant and aware of what's happening? That's okay. We're still going to tell you the story. So, once upon a time, there was a man named Tony. And Tony was very rich. He had lots of money. And he was very smart. He was good at building things and making weapons and machines and robots and stuff like that. And he had a whole company for doing those things. That's why he was so rich. But Tony wasn't always very nice to other people. He was kind of selfish and he wasn't very responsible with his things. So we'll see if that changes over time. It will. And so one day, Tony went to the Middle East to work on a deal with his company to sell some weapons. But something bad happened while he was there. His car exploded. And he got captured by bad guys. They kept him in a cave. And he was hurt from the explosion. He had, I forget what they can call it. This is excuse me, off the top of my head in case you couldn't tell. He had some shrapnel in his heart, and he had to fix that, and he was hurt. And the bad guys who were captured him, so they wanted him to build them a weapon for them to use against people. And at first, Tony said no, but then they started to hurt him until he said yes. And there was someone else in the cave, a man named Ho Yinsen, who was kind of a friend and helper to Tony. And they threatened to hurt him too. So Tony said, okay, I'll build your weapon. But guess what, Benny? He was actually tricking them. He didn't build the weapon they wanted. He built a suit of armor. It was like a robot suit of armor that you could go inside and you could fly around and shoot lasers and all that stuff. That's what he was really building the whole time. So he built that, and then he used it to escape from the bad guys, because he was inside the suit and he became Iron Man. And sadly, Ho Yinsen died in the escape. I guess that was a minor plot point. I could have told you the whole movie without that plot point. Not that he's not a cool character, just that we're doing broad strokes here. And Tony escaped from the cave and beat those bad guys. And he wandered the desert for a little while until his friends found him and were able to bring him back home to America. And Tony's experiences had made him want to be a nicer person and want to do good things for people instead. Because weapons actually hurt people, but he wanted to stop making weapons and start being a good guy, and doing good things. And some people were confused about that. They didn't like it, because his company makes weapons, and a weapons company that doesn't make weapons, what do you do with that? But he said he wanted to do better things with his life instead. And he had a friend slash helper slash girlfriend named Pepper, and she was also confused at first, but she tried to support him and bear with him. And meanwhile, he also started being Iron Man. He built a new suit that was red and gold and all that stuff, and could fly around in it and shoot lasers, and it was really cool. And he did that. He tested it out some, but then he flew around in his suit, and he went back to the Middle East and fought some more bad guys because he realized they were using his weapons to do bad things, and he didn't want them to do that anymore. So he destroyed the weapons and stopped some more bad guys. And on his way back, the military started following him because they wondered who he was. And he had a friend named Rhodey who was in the military. He'll be more important later. He's not in this movie that much. And yeah. So Tony was Iron Man, and he was doing good things and beating the bad guys, but everyone wondered who he was. And there was someone else working for his company named Obadiah, an older man named Obadiah Stane, and he also didn't like the new direction of the company. And guess what, Benny? He was secretly a bad guy. Yeah, I always tell him the spoilers. It's he doesn't know yet. It's easier that way. He was really a bad guy. He was jealous of Tony and his success, and he wanted to take that away from him. So let's see. I always get a little fuzzy in the middle of a movie. Like the I feel like the beginning you can set up the plot pretty well. The ending is usually memorable. The middle is where I lose some of the details often. So let's see. Somewhere along the line, we found out that his friend Obadiah was really a bad guy, and he was working against Tony, and he was working with the bad guys in the Middle East to supply them weapons and to try to kill Tony. And that wasn't good. And he trapped Tony. He had a device he could use that made him trapped for a little while, that made him paralyzed, which means he can't move. And Obadiah, stole the original Iron Man suit, the one that Tony used to escape the cave, and he became the Ironmonger, and he started flying around and doing bad things. I don't know specifically what bad things he was doing other than just trying to hurt Tony, but he was. So yeah. But Tony was able to escape being paralyzed. He managed to make it down to the basement of his big house, and he found a heart thing. I didn't tell you this part earlier, but there was you gotta watch the movie. There was the mechanical heart he used to stay alive. There was still a copy down there that Pepper had given him, and he got it again and put it in himself and got his Iron Man suit on, so then he could be Iron Man. And there was a big fight between Tony, who was Iron Man, and Obadiah, who was the Ironmonger, and they flew up in the air and had a battle and fought. And in the end, Tony won, because, Benny, I'll tell you the first rule of superhero stuff. Good guys always win. The good guys always win in the end. Almost always. So, he won, and he beat the Ironmonger, and the suit fell down. I think Ironmonger fell down and crashed into some lightning-y thing. I'm a little fuzzy on the details. And he died, probably. Sorry, it's a little dark for a kid's story. And everyone was happy because the day was saved. And then some reporters asked Tony what was going on with him and where Iron Man came from. and he was gonna make up a story to tell them that wasn't true, but then he admitted to the whole world that he was Iron Man. So now everyone knows that Tony Stark is Iron Man, and he's doing new things with his life. So now he's a superhero, and he's starting to turn over a new leaf. And there's many more stories where that came from. And then at the end, Tony got a visit from a mysterious man named Nick Fury. And Nick Fury told him that he wanted to talk to him about the Avenger Initiative. Dun dun dun. And they all lived happily ever after until the next movie. The end. Or to be continued, or whatever. Okay. The end, little guy. Hope you like that story. Good night.